here at Manchester Airport and I really fancy having a steak for my lunch today. Slight problem though, I'm in the north of England and here the closest they come to steak is in pie form with a bit of gravy and mashed potato. So I've decided to head to Houston, Texas, the home of the steak, to try and get myself a bit of lunch. I'm taking Singapore Airlines on their morning flight from here in Terminal 2 at Manchester, all the way over to Houston, hopefully with time to get a bit of lunch, bit of steak over there, and then back to the airport in time for this evening's flight back here to Manchester. So let's take Singapore Airlines A350 to Houston for lunch. Okay, I'll admit there was another reason to take this trip. I needed just 3,000 miles to obtain my Star Alliance Gold status, and this round trip would grant me Gold status for the rest of the year. First job today was to check in, which seemed to cause a little confusion.
I'm going through to Manchester, Houston.
Yeah, and then straight back.
And then straight back? Yes. So are you going to... You're not going to stay there then?
I'm not, no. So I'm going out for lunch, I'm going to have a steak when I get there.
Right, and then just come straight back?
Come straight back, yeah.
Helen, that is yours just to put onto your hand luggage.
Alright, yeah, thank you.
Hi, Helen. Hello. Just advice really. I've managed to get both boarding cards out, but I mean, is it alright doing the Houston to Manchester because it's only there for a day, so I'm going for lunch and then coming back.
I'm going for lunch. I've got to have a steak while you're there, haven't you?
So
that's no issues because it's just like checking online. It's just the same.
It wouldn't let me check in online for both of them, so
yeah,
that's
no,
what I
have
So status-wise, that'll obviously allow you to lounge.
Yes.
Very easily. All lounges.
Yeah.
With a guest.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're gold. Well, yeah. So is that worth it to you?
To me, I fly like 100 odd times a year, so it's...
Yeah, and also gives you extra luggage.
Yeah.
And also, once you become gold status, when upgrades are being looked at, you're the first to be considered.
There. Exactly.
You are, you're the first in the list. It's a long way, but
it's a long way to go, yeah, but thank you very much. Exactly.
So are you having that in the airport, or are you going out?
I'm going out. There's a steakhouse near the airport, so I'm going to go out and have some steak and head back to the airport.
And get some duty free.
Exactly. Exactly.
Smashing.
And I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. I'm not eating that one, so I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll see you later. Thank you.
Bye.
So checked in and airside, that was interesting, trying to explain why I'm going to the US for a couple of hours and coming back on the next plane. I have a feeling I'm going to be having a few more of those conversations today. Right, time to head to the gate. They're starting to board. Let's go. My ride to Houston and back today, and my home for the next 24 hours, is this 3-year-old Airbus A350-900, originally delivered to Singapore Airlines in 2017.
Yes, thank you. There's your option. That's better. That's fine, sir. Thank you very much. Straight ahead. Thank you.
Cheers.
Hiya.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Hiya.
Good morning, sir. Welcome
Thank
aboard.
you.
Across and to the right, please. Hello, good morning.
I headed back through the incredible business cabin and the premium economy cabins to the simpler but still pretty comfortable economy class cabin.
As the safety equipment on this aircraft may differ from that of other aircraft.
Fairly soon we pushed back ready for the flight across the Atlantic.
Stay connected with Singapore Airlines.
We had a short taxi out to runway 23 left today before we lined up and got on our way. Our route today then took us northwest out of Manchester to cross Northern Ireland and head across the Atlantic to the southern tip of Greenland. From Greenland we crossed into Canada and down into the US over northern Michigan. We passed north of Chicago to cross the Midwest before dropping down into Louisiana to approach Houston from the east. Flight time today was 9 hours and 42 minutes at a cruising altitude of 40 and 41,000 feet. Shortly after takeoff, the crew passed through with drinks and snacks and handed out menus for the lunch service today. There's Wi-Fi on board the Singapore A350 which worked on the way out but not on the way back. The prices were fairly reasonable, however I did end up using 2 of the top packages thanks to posting quite a lot of Instagram updates throughout the flight. The Wi-Fi was pretty slow, which is my only complaint. I sat back to watch the movie sequel to Channel 4's hit comedy The IT Crowd, which seemed a little more violent than the original. Pretty soon the first meal service started. I opted for the pan-fried fillet of fish, which was spicy but really nice. As the sun sank lower in the sky, we crossed the southern tip of Greenland, which was stunning as always. So right now we are airborne over the southern tip of Greenland at 39,000 feet, about 3 hours into the flight. And so far going very well, very comfortable. Just watched a movie, some great scenery out the window as well. And we've got about 5.5 or something hours left until we hit Houston. For right now, just enjoying the flight. It's actually not too bad at all. The seating economy is pretty comfortable with a 32-inch seat pitch, slightly more than the 31 inches of most of the other airlines serving the transatlantic routes. There's 2 USB power ports to the left of the TV, with an iPod connector as well. To the right of the seat's a cup holder which pops out. The table folds down in 2 parts, once for the drinks and snacks, and again for the meal service. There's a mirror built into the table too, which I thought was a nice touch. The seat reclines with the usual button and slips forward as it reclines, meaning that you don't end up with the passenger in front of you in your lap when they recline. Soon there was another snack service, which was a sandwich. So we're now overhead Canada. We're about 3 hours left to run until we arrive into Houston, Texas, where I'm hoping to get my steak. I'm quite peckish now. Had a bit of a meal after takeoff, which is quite nice. The cabin crew have been really good, coming around with drinks and snacks throughout, but I'm holding off because I'm waiting for that steak when I get to Houston. We're over Canada now, as I said. We've got about 3 hours left to run until we arrive. Flight generally very comfortable. The A350 is a lovely plane to fly on. When we get there, I don't know how I'm going to get there. They're probably going to Uber or something to the restaurant. And then back on this exact plane again later on tonight. I am a little bit curious as to what immigration are going to say when I get there and I tell them that I'm only there for 4 hours to get a steak. I mean, I've been to the US on day trips quite a few times before and it's always been a bit of a question, but they've generally been okay with it. But this is kind of the shortest I've ever been to the States for, is just 4 hours. Usually I'm there at least 12 hours or so. So it's going to be interesting. Fingers crossed we don't have any issues when we get there. We soon crossed into the United States over the northern end of Lake Michigan. I was surprised that there was a second full meal service, and this time I opted for chicken chow mein. As we commenced our descent over Louisiana, there were loads of smoke plumes below us, which seemed strange for the middle of winter. We were soon approaching the city of Houston, where we landed 20 minutes early on a gusty afternoon. Thank you, bye-bye. I disembarked into the terminal to be welcomed into the USA by a mammoth line for immigration. It took over an hour to get to the end of the line where, when I told him the reason for my really short stay, was just met with a rather bored "awesome" before I was stamped into the US of A. So finally made it through that cluster beep of immigration here at Houston Intergalactical Incontinental Spaceport, whatever it's called. It is 9:40 UK time. I've got 3 hours to go get my lunch and head back to the airport for my flight back to the UK. So let's do this. I should be back at the airport for midnight UK time, so it's a little bit like Cinderella. Just waiting for my Uber now to take me to go and get some steak, and then we can head back home. My Uber didn't take long to turn up and whisk me to a nearby steakhouse. When I arrived, it appeared I'd struck the jackpot in the drawer of Texan steakhouses. Yes, please. Can I get the fire grilled T-bone, please, in rare? Then can I get a Bud Light or something, please?
Yeah, do you want draft or a bottle?
Draft if you have it.
Draft, you want the big one?
Please, yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank you. So I found a steakhouse not far from the airport. It's not too busy and it's a proper Texan style place. I know it's a chain, but I couldn't be bothered to drive miles out to find a proper local one. So this is it. Waiting for my steak, nice T-bone on the way. Yeah. I don't think I could have picked anywhere more Texas if I tried. There's country music playing and there's horseshoes and things everywhere. It's all very Texan. I like it.
This is a wonderful vintage here. 2019.
2019 vintage. It's a good year, is it?
Yes.
Thank you. I has a steak. It's fair to say my steak was well worth the journey. It was absolutely delicious. Now these things are called fried okra. I've never heard of them before. Apparently it's a Texan specialty. It's like a bean sort of thing. It's fried. Amazing. Thanks very much. See you. Oh, there we go. Steak achieved in Texas. This was absolutely amazing. Amazing lunch there and really great bunch of guys there as well. Time to head back to the airport. It took about 15 minutes to get here, so I'm going to get an Uber and head back, and hopefully we'll be in time for tonight's flight back to Manchester. Let's go. Hey, how are you? Oh, yeah, good, thank you.
Water.
Yeah.
You guys say water, right?
Water, yeah.
In Anatolia Road, so much different. You've been in Dubai?
Wow.
Corolla. You can definitely, I will follow you.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that I was
You've had a
the
YouTuber
Uber
in your
driver.
car. Yeah. It's been a pleasure. Nice to meet you, sir.
Have a
Thank you.
safe trip.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe. Thank you, friend. Thank you. Okay, so back here at George Bush Intercontinental Galactic Spaceport. Time to get back to Manchester. About an hour until the plane leaves, I better get a move on. Right, through security, and they're about to board my flight, so I need to get a wiggle on and get across to the gate. Okay, we want gate D1, so it's this way. Right, come down to gate D1, and they've just changed the gate to gate D7, so back the way I've come. Good lord.
Please proceed to gate D12.
Back past security. Trying to find D7 now. Oh, here we go.
You actually just landed.
Yes, today. Yeah.
And you leave again.
Landed from Manchester. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So you landed from Manchester, now you go back to
Yeah,
Manchester.
exactly. So
Really?
I have to Texas to have a steak, and now I'm going home again. So.
Gosh, what's your channel? So gate D7 right behind me. 58K window seat, okay?
Awesome.
Boarding crew force, go ahead and take a seat from me.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So it's now 2 hours past our scheduled departure time. We're still sat here at the gate, and there's absolutely no information from Singapore Airlines about what's going on, other than they'll let us know in 15 minutes, and that time comes, then we get another, we'll let you know in 15 minutes. They've started handing out snacks or bags of crisps to people, which is not a good sign, but it's now 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been awake now for 22 hours. I just want to get some sleep. So it's now 2:45 in the morning, and we've just been told that the next update will be at 3:30. And they're just going to let us know then, apparently, so that will make it 3 hours after our scheduled departure of midnight. Okay, so it's now 3:30 in the morning. Next update, we've just been told it's going to be at 4 o'clock. They've found a problem or something, and they're trying to fix it. And yay, we're boarding, I think. Everyone's moving. 4 hours late, but we're on the move. After a delay of around 4 hours, we were finally called for boarding, and the sleepy plane load of passengers boarded the A350 back to Manchester.
Hello, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Hello, good evening.
We'll cross to your right, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, hello.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. That should be fine, thank you, but thank you.
Me in the flight deck is Captain T.Y. Chong and Senior First Officer Hao Yong. Flight time to Manchester this evening will be 7 hours and 30 minutes, 7.5 hours. Firstly, I'd like to apologize for this delay out of Houston. The aircraft had a defect, indication of the fuel quantity indication wasn't showing correctly, and it was taking longer than usual to repair it. But it's all fixed now, and we're all ready. We're just waiting for the last bit of paperwork. The flight time is a bit shorter than normal, so we hope to make some time on throughout this flight.
Right, on board, finally. It's 4:30 in the morning UK time, 10:30 here in Houston. Probably going to be another half an hour before we leave, so that'll make us 4.5 late, so... Hey, never mind. Just looking forward to sleep more than anything.
Crew, please unload doors and cross-check. On this aircraft may differ from that of other aircraft. Please give us your attention as we bring you through this important safety briefing. Make sure that your seat belt is securely fastened during taxi, takeoff, and landing. To fasten, bring the two ends of the seat belt together as you lay our Wi-Fi portal and follow the guided steps.
Our route back to Manchester tonight took us northeast across the US towards New York before crossing the Atlantic and making a left turn towards Ireland. From there we crossed the Irish Sea into Manchester, and flight time tonight was 7 hours and 41 minutes at a cruising altitude of 39,000 feet. Soon after takeoff I fell straight asleep and didn't wake up until several hours later. When I woke up we were just off the south coast of Ireland, the sun was rising and breakfast service was just beginning. I'd missed the dinner service as I was asleep, but breakfast was a tasty cheesy omelette and a yoghurt. Pretty soon the Isle of Anglesey in North Wales became visible below, and we descended to cross the northwest of England into Manchester. We touched down on runway 23 right at Manchester, 3 hours and 17 minutes late. My return flight to Houston today cost me £734 or $959 US. This is for a total distance flown of almost 9,500 miles, giving a cost per mile of just 8 pence. Considering I booked this flight just 2 days out, it wasn't too bad value for money, especially considering this trip got me a year's worth of Star Alliance Gold status with a tasty side order of delicious steak. Say hi. Thank you. See you.
How'd you get on? Did everyone have your steak?
Have my steak, yeah.
And have you made gold status?
Made gold status as well, yeah, so it's perfect.
See you next.
See ya. So a little over 24 hours later, thanks to that delay, but I'm back here at Manchester, steak achieved, sausage roll in hand, and time to get the train back home. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think to Singapore Airlines down in the comments below. And also, if you've not subscribed already, would really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. As always, thanks very much for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.